So this is the last spooky dish for this month, and I had to think long and hard over this one. Check this out. Oh God, wrong clip. I told you I had to think about this one. A zombie brain trifle. What a delight. So we're going to start off with that trifle with green Genoise sponge fingers, topped off with a mango jelly, followed by the Incredible Hulk snot, green custard, topped off with a red Chantilly cream, and then topped even further with that delightful marshmallow again. Oh yes, it's back again. And then finishing it off with some raspberry puree and some zombie hand candies. And yes, there is so much going on in this trifle, it even hurts my brain. So now that I've got your attention, feel free to subscribe to the channel and also feel free to hit that notification bell to let you know when the videos are ready. Right, enough thinking about this one, let's crack on. And of course, the first thing we want to do is preheat that oven to 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. So for the green Genoise sponge fingers, we're going to need to melt down 10 grams or half a tablespoon of unsalted butter, and you can do this in your microwave if you need to. So grab your KitchenAid, we're going to need the whisk attachment, and we're going to need 2 egg whites, but also keep the yolks, we're going to need them. So once the egg whites are in, put this onto a low speed. Well, I think low is a little too slow, let's put it onto medium. So once the egg whites start to froth up, add 30 grams or 3/8 of a cup of caster sugar or fine granulated sugar. And you want to add it very slowly. And then whack it onto a high speed if you haven't done so by now. So once the egg whites are smooth and shiny, we're going to add the 2 egg yolks, followed by 1/4 teaspoon of green gel food coloring, and then put it back onto a low speed to mix up until that's all incorporated. So once that's all incorporated, turn it off and take the whisk off. And then we're going to fold in with a spatula 30 grams or 1/4 cup of plain or all-purpose flour. And you want to be super careful with this so you don't knock all that beautiful air out of it. Don't worry if you're a little bit rough with it, but not too much. You just basically want to make sure all those little flour pockets are incorporated. And before we add the melted butter, we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract to the butter. Add the butter to the mix and then gently fold it through. And then we're going to pop it into a piping bag with a nice thick nozzle. And then grab yourself a flat tray with a silicone mat, or you could use parchment paper. Just make sure you put a little bit of the mix so the parchment paper doesn't fly off. And then we're going to pipe roughly 10 centimeter fingers, which is about 3.9 inches, onto the tray, giving it plenty of space as well in between each one. And you don't need to be too specific with the size. So there we go, there's our snot trails. Our Genoise sponge fingers. So we're going to put these in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes, just until they're nice, light, spongy and springy. So there we go, there's our beautiful sponge fingers. They're nice, light, and they're springing back, which is perfect. If they don't spring back, they need longer in the oven. So set these aside and we'll let them cool down. So now it's time to do that delightful mango and the jelly. So grab yourself a nice, ripe, fresh mango, and then give that a peel all the way around. And once you've peeled up that bad boy, have a look for the oval shape, because that's where the nut is going to be, right in the middle. So you want to cut just aside from it to get the flesh off. So just like I said, just off center a little bit, cut straight down. You don't cut right next to the nut. Otherwise, it's going to be quite fibrous if you cut too close. And then same again on the other side. And then just trim the sides. And that's pretty much the nut. And you might think that's a little bit of a waste, but you don't want to cut too close. Like I said, that fibrous texture is just not pleasant to eat. So we're just pretty much going to dice the mango down into thick chunks. So pop the mango into a medium-sized pan. Then we're going to add 100 grams of fine granulated sugar or caster sugar, which is half a cup, followed by 500 ml of water, which is 2 cups. Then we're going to take this over to the stove and then place onto a medium-high heat, and we're going to cook this down for 20 to 30 minutes to soften up the mango and also to get the flavor into the water for the jelly. As the mangoes are simmering away and they're almost ready to go, we're going to grab ourselves 6 platinum gelatine leaves, and if you want to use the powder, I would probably recommend going for 8 grams. So grab yourself some cold water to soak the gelatine leaves, and it's super important it's cold, because if it's warm, they will start dissolving in the water and you're going to have a right mess on your hands. So these are only going to need to soak for about 2 minutes. They're not going to take long before they become nice and gelatinous. So the mangoes have just come off the stove and they're ready, and there's some beautiful flavor from that water from the mangoes, and the mangoes are nice and soft now. So you want to strain yourself off 500 ml of water, which is about 2 cups. And if you don't quite have enough, you can always top it up with a little touch of boiling water. So while it's still nice and hot, grab the gelatin and squeeze the excess moisture out. Whoa! Didn't mean to spray the camera. And then just gently drop it into the hot liquor. Just give that a little quick stir around just until the gelatin has dissolved. So this is not really looking very spooky, is it? So we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of orange gel food color into this, just to give it a little bit of life. And now it's time to start assembling that first layer of that trifle. So firstly, in goes the mangoes, followed by those beautiful sponge, delicious, soft, well, some fingers left at least. Hey, what can I say? The finger licking good. And then just gently pour that beautiful jelly that we made just over the top so it can soak, cool down, and then we can let it set in the fridge. And if you feel like you're going to need a cheeky bit of sherry, go for it. I'm certainly not going to judge you. So next it's time to make that green custard or creme patissiere. Now you've seen me make this hundreds of times, so I'm going to whiz through this pretty damn quick. So 500 ml of milk or 2 cups, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then pop this onto the stove to come up to a boil, and careful it doesn't boil over. And then grab yourself a mixing bowl, and we're going to need 6 egg yolks. Keep the whites, you're going to need half of them for later. Also, we're going to need 90 grams or 7 tablespoons of caster sugar or fine granulated sugar. In addition, we want 5 teaspoons or 25 grams of cornstarch or corn flour, as well as 25 grams of plain flour or all-purpose flour, which is 5 teaspoons as well. And not forgetting that 1/4 teaspoon of green gel food coloring as well to pop in there. And then give it all a little whisk until it's nice and pasty. Oh, and just be careful you don't whisk too hard, otherwise, yeah. Oh! Yeah, I think I need to buy some new whisks. So once I finish with my whisk fiasco, we finally got our beautiful green pasty mixture ready to go. So finally, once your milk has come up to boil, start adding a small amount to the mixture, then gently whisking it in, then adding more milk little by little, and this will help prevent adding any lumps. And once all that mixture is incorporated into the milk, I'm going to pour that straight back into the pan and then back onto the stove. And we're going to place it back onto a medium heat, whisking gently and continuously until it thickens. And eventually your custard should get nice and thick. And you want to make sure you leave it on for about 2 minutes just to make sure you cook out those eggs perfectly. And once it's cooked out, take it off the stove, then pour the custard onto a tray lined with parchment paper, and then just carefully spread it out nice and evenly. And then place another piece of parchment paper over the top to stop it forming a skin. So we're going to let that cool down, and then we're going to blend it. So while that custard is cooling down, let's start making that raspberry puree. So we're going to need 340 grams of frozen raspberries, which is about 12 ounces. Pop it into a medium-sized pan. And then we're going to need 6 tablespoons of caster sugar or fine granulated sugar in there as well. And then we're going to pop it onto a heat. Why is the decorations moving? So we want to pop this onto a medium heat for 20 minutes, giving it an occasional stir until all that moisture has dissolved down, and then we're ready to blend. Talking about blending, now we can start blending the custard down as it's nice and cool. And by the end of it, you should have something as shiny as, well, Incredible Hulk snot, right? So once the raspberries are cooked down and you've got a nice, beautiful, thick consistency, it's time to blend these bad boys. So you just want to blend them till they're nice and smooth. And then you want to pass the puree straight through a sieve to remove those pips. And there we go, there's our raspberry puree. It's a little bit on the thick side, so if you need to thin it down, just use a little touch of water. So it's time for the second layer of the trifle. Let's get that beautiful green custard over the top. And if you feel like you want more custard than cream, you can always double up the custard recipe if you want to. Now it's time for the third tier, and we're going for the red Chantilly cream. So we're going to need 960 ml or 4 cups of heavy whipping cream or double cream. Then we want 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Then we want 16 tablespoons or 1 cup of confection sugar or icing sugar. And then half a teaspoon of the red gel food coloring in there as well. And then pop it down, put it onto a low speed. Don't go too fast, otherwise that icing sugar will puff up into your face. And once it's incorporated, then pick up the speed. And if you feel it's too pink, then you can always add a little touch more dye to make it nice and red. So I don't think the red was very successful, but we ended up with a pink, so we're going to end up with Pinky and the Brain. No, not the cartoon. So once the cream's finally peaked, we're going to get that out. And then we're going to put the third layer in, that beautiful cream, so we're just going to pop that all in there. And this does look like a lot more cream for the sponge, the jelly, and the custard. But the reason for that is we want the huge mound on top so we can shape it like a brain. So once you've got your oval mound, I'm going to pop this bad boy in the fridge and it's time for the mallow. So you've seen me make the mallow quite a few times in the last couple of videos, so I will put some links and references in the description box for this, but I'm going to whiz through this very, very quickly. So in the bowl we want 3 egg whites, followed by 75 grams of caster sugar or 1/3 of a cup. In addition, 45 grams or 2 tablespoons of golden syrup, 1 small pinch of salt, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then we're going to pop that onto the stove on a pan of simmering water. I'm going to whip that up for about 8 to 10 minutes until it's stiff and shiny. So once your marshmallow is stiff, shiny, and smooth, we're going to pop this into a piping bag with a nice thick nozzle. So now it's time to pipe that mallow on, make those beautiful brain textures over the top. So you just basically want to make nice little squiggles over the top, representing the brain texture. That's all we need to do. So the mallow is on, but we're not finished quite yet. So grab your raspberry puree and loosen it up with a little bit of water once you get to the nice loose consistency. And then what we want to do is just gently dab that over the top, on top of the mallow, just to make it look like almost like blood. And there it is, our delightful zombie brain trifle. But we got a few little bit more garnishes just to put on top and to finish it off. Just pop in a few little candied zombie hands coming out of the brain. So there we have it for today. Our zombie brain trifle turned out an absolute little gem. Starting off with the Genoise green sponge fingers, the mango jelly, the mangoes itself. Then we have the green custard, or the creme patissiere. Topped off with the red Chantilly cream, which technically was pink. And then finished off with the mallow, and then that beautiful raspberry jam, and then some zombie hand candies, just to give it that extra little touch. Now, I usually have a taste test, but lately I've been cutting down and looking after myself, so I'm pretty sure my family will enjoy this instead. So that's all we got time for this week, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the zombie brain trifle. It's an absolute little gem. Feel free to try this out. The list of ingredients will be below in the description box as always. And that will be the last Halloween dish we'll be doing this month. But don't worry, we will be back next week with some more delightful dishes. In addition, if you want to catch me cooking live on Twitch, feel free to come and stop by. The link is in the description box below. We stream Monday to Thursday, 10 AM Mountain Time, live, cooking some very delightful dishes. Also, feel free to subscribe and also give a like or a dislike, and feel free to leave a comment below. So anyway, folks, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll see you next week for some more delightful dishes. Stay safe, awesome, and amazing.